You know, Mitt, I'm so glad that we got to see the movie that we worked on, that we did some work on recently. I thought that was really neat that we had that opportunity to see the work that we did, even though we already saw it.
Yeah, I love seeing things.
Yeah. Sight.
Which is why I hope you're watching this episode on YouTube. This is a very visual-oriented episode, and there will be spoilers for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie. So you have been forewarned. If you're listening to this episode on, any of the usual podcast places, and you don't have access to visuals, then, stick around. We'll do our best. But there will be additional visuals on the YouTube upload that will make it easier to follow along and know what we're talking about. And there will be cool, never before seen Sonic 2 film credits production art that we are allowed to share. Some stuff's unused, some stuff is used, some stuff is just easier to look at because we'll be presenting it in a more easy to look at form.
And if you're not watching this on YouTube right now, there will be a link in the description wherever you're watching or wherever you're listening, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It'd be nice and accessible.
Oh, how about Sonic 2? The movie!
The movie! Well, we talked about what we thought about it last time, and I think it's good we got those thoughts out and kind of kept them over there. Let's not bog down the discussion at either side of like how we felt about the movie or what it was like working on it with melding either, to be honest.
Yes.
Before we super get into the production stuff, I want to make it super clear that it was not just the two of us who did pixel art for this. We knew each other going into this, but we also worked with a third pixel artist and animator, Presley Carvalho, Parigi Clemens on Twitter and Parigi Clemens Art on Tumblr. And he was super cool. He did a ton of stuff. If you liked any of the large freeze frame shots of Sonic dancing with his spines and different hairdos, any of Tails' animations except for when he was flying the plane, and Robotnik's shimmy dance that he does when Knuckles runs up to him, you have Presley to thank. So keep that in mind. We did a lot of other stuff. Parigi Clemens did a ton of things on his own.
Yeah, let's get into this by breaking down the timeline of how everything went down. So I was contacted initially back in, I want to say January. Yeah, January sounds right. It wasn't I don't think before Christmas. But,
no way. It was after the turn of the year.
Yeah. And I was contacted by Tyson Hess. You know him. Works on the comics, worked on the first movie, redesigning Sonic, works with the series in general. And he asked me if I was available to do some pixel art work for Sonic, just like platformy, the usual kinds of running around, relatively low-res stuff. And he didn't immediately tell me what it was for, which means that I was left for 45 minutes to my own devices to wonder, what is this? What am I being asked to work on? And it did cross my mind that it was a Sonic Mania 2, but I'm saying now, it wasn't, obviously. So if that's in the pipeline, but yeah, obviously I said yes, because why wouldn't I? And that got me in contact with the VFX studio who put together they did the credits for the first movie. They also produced all of the pixel art for the first movie's credits and the music video, all of that. They did the typeset for any subtitles or on-screen text, like at the start of Sonic 2, when you see the mushroom planet pop up. That was them. Just all sorts of last-minute, last stage of production, final text, stuff like that. And I was contacted by our boss, William Libida, who interviewed me to get me on board and figured everything out. And that's when I learned that when my name was passed along to them, they had gone and looked at some of the stuff on my website. And it was very funny, because the thing that stood out was I did a cast lineup, in pixel art of a bunch of Sonic characters, probably about 2 years ago now, and it has like all of the core classic casts, and that was brought up as like, oh, we should go for this, because the core idea that they wanted for Sonic 2's credits is like, well, if the first movie is 16-bit, then the next movie should be like 32-bit. Like it should be, you know, technically more impressive looking, start to bring in some rudimentary 3D elements and stuff like that. And I said, okay, I can do that. I'll do whatever you want. I'm not letting this job pass. And when I was brought in, it was very funny. It's very interesting to start to see that I'm saying this like it's a bad thing. It was funny. It was funny to see that there were already some rough style frames using my Sonic sprites, and like those have been up publicly for like 2 years. So eventually I asked, like, it's chill that we're using these, right? Because like we're getting a little far into making these style frames and getting ready to make final animation. And it was like, yeah, it's fine. And I mean, I made them. So I think it would be my call anyway, and I wouldn't say no. I just think it's very funny. I have a very visible fingerprint on the credits by virtue of the main sprite style being literally something I made by myself 2 years ago.
If you don't mind me interjecting, I would also say it like you left a big fingerprint by being the first to do animation work for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all, the three of us were working with both like the static visual style and the motion style that you established.
Yeah, I was pretty much the lead pixel artist on the team by virtue of being brought on first. I got to start working on the style frames with everyone else, and that was it for a little while. Like we just made a lot of style frames until we were ready to start on the character animations, and I got to see the working cut of the whole movie, which was very interesting. And there were a couple of style frames that got very heavily altered or removed. The one that I know of offhand that got outright removed was a scene for Hawaii, where it's meant to echo the wedding crash scene, and it was Sonic running from GUN trucks, which I think were just FBI trucks in the style frame. And I had used elements of Angel Island and Emerald Hill to kind of create a very Hawaii-esque platforming level. And it wasn't like anything too crazy looking in terms of the quote-unquote level design. It was basically just a couple of platforms, Sonic running over where the trucks were. And Jeff Fowler, who our boss was in contact with, just kind of decided, we're not really feeling this one. Let's just cut it for time, try and get some more interesting shots going on. And that's what we did. So
it's funny, as a result of like cutting that scene specifically, the credits really focus hard on what the Sonic characters do and very little on what the human characters do at all in the movie.
Oh yeah, even in the Hawaii scene, there weren't any humans that were in the style frame, but it was just Sonic and the truck.
It just feels like expressly exclusionary.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's fine. It was good. I think it was a good move. It's just funny.
Yeah. The first style frame that I had put together was actually the snowboard one, where it was the style frame itself was the action shot of Sonic doing the cool pose on the snowboard, and he's in center frame with all the Badniks and Robotnik in the far background. And the next one that I tried to work on was Knuckles on the Mushroom Planet. And this one got heavily reworked because the first time I attempted it, like this was the second thing that I had done for them, so I still hadn't really laid out the land for what is expected to me, or expected of me. So it was another kind of high-res still frame shot of Knuckles standing on the other side of the ring portal while Robotnik is still on the Mushroom Planet, and you could see it through the ring. It's kind of like, timeline wise, it would be something that we don't see in the movie. It's Knuckles doing his Sonic 3, laughing pose outside in the city overlooking the city, and then Robotnik is in the background still on the Mushroom Planet. And I made the Mushroom Planet look exactly like Mushroom Hill. I figured if we were going all in on the game references, I might as well. But we ended up changing that drastically to the platforming section because like we needed some of those anyway. And even then, the first couple of passes I had of the Mushroom Planet in the platforming section became more like Mushroom Hill by virtue of becoming more like the final movie. The first pass I did used a color palette that was very similar to the first movies, where it was very brown and dull.
Yeah.
And a couple of passes later, we settled on a very, I guess, yeah, it's vibrant, like a dark nighttime, vibrant neon blue, purple, a little bit of red and green. And I mean, if you've seen the movie, you could tell it still uses some assets from Mushroom Hill. Some assets even made by the Pixel team that are original but are still echoing Mushroom Hill. So that callback is deliberate. Oh, and the snowboarding scene's first pass was colored almost identically to Sonic 3 Ice Cap. That got adjusted because we wanted the color palette to be a little more cinematic. And I think by the end of it all, we sort of met in the middle of making it look a little bit Sonic 3 Ice Cappy and still a little more movie-y. In the absolute final cut, one of us had recommended, well, we were all recommending different things from the different iterations of Sonic Ice levels. And one of us had recommended the ramps from Sonic Adventure. And that's why that ramp is in, you know, the final credit sequence. You could see Sonic jumping off of that ramp before he goes into the pose. So once we were done with those style framing, we started doing some concepting for some other characters. Basically just have the whole lineup, put it in a document, send it to the directors, make sure it's good. We had some back and forth with Jeff Fowler and Tyson Hess to make sure everything was looking all right. There weren't very many notes, actually. Sonic had a couple of notes that were basically just making sure his arm is a little more visible against his body, because we made it blue to make it more like the movie. And I also went out of my way to tweak his brow from the original sprites that I made in 2020.
Yeah, with those sprites, you were going for like imitating Yasushi Yamaguchi's Sonic 2 art, and like that art for Sonic is really smooth in terms of how it depicts his face and like very low detail.
Yeah, I wanted to have just get him a little tiny bit more on model with the regular classic stuff, and it also brought him a little more in line with some of the other characters, so that helped. But that was kind of it in terms of notes at that stage. It was basically just Sonic's arm. Robotnik needed a little bit of touch-ups because I wasn't getting his coat exactly right. It was kind of hard to get some references for that. But, I mean, otherwise, yeah. You also
started off with a Robotnik that was too big, right?
Yeah, but I didn't get notes back for that. I made a Robotnik head... Or no, I made a full-body Robotnik that was bigger. And I said to myself, I'm going to make a smaller one because he's too big. Like, I figure he's technically to scale, but screen-wise, he's too big. He feels too big. So
that makes sense. I didn't realize. I think somewhere on the line, I thought you got feedback back on that, and that's why you changed it.
No, I did that of my own volition because he was too big, and I wanted to use the big one as reference while scaling it down because I liked how the big one looked. I liked his face most of all, so that's why I kept it around when we sent them over. But yeah, once we were all squared away with all that, we started getting into contact with more pixel artists. I was asked, are there any pixel artists that you know of that you would want to get on board? And I said, yes. So I finally told, or I asked Crepe if she wanted to do it. And obviously the answer was yes, because I had been trying to get us both on a job like this for a little while. And this was the one. They gave me the opportunity, so like obviously.
Here's how it all looked from my perspective. We later learned, like, quite a ways into this job by just reviewing our contract again, that we weren't actually under NDA in terms of not being able to say we were working on Sonic 2. We were under NDA in that we weren't able to share what we were working on or anything that we were shown by production staff. Like, that was all under wraps. But we could have at any point said that we were working on this movie. But we didn't think of it that way for a long time. So back in January, Mitt wasn't telling anyone that she was on Sonic 2. We all kind of knew because, like, when it happened, she basically said, "Guess who DM'd me?" And I think I sheepishly said Tyson Hess, and, like, that got a reaction. So I was like, oh, okay, got it. But it still was never said explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us were, like, really excited for her, really, some of us were, like, really envious, because it's just a really cool thing. But we were all really excited that she got that opportunity, especially was reached out to directly. And like she was just saying, we've been trying to, like, get onto something together for a little bit. It was midway through or late last year that she was approached by someone at Tribute Games, a publisher and developer, to work on the TMNT beat 'em up that's coming out later this year, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And it felt like she would have been hired on for that if it weren't for the two of us trying to sell them on hiring both of us when that happened. They ended up going with someone else, and that's just how it went. But it did kind of leave us a little sad about it for a bit.
At that point, I was working on a couple of projects because, well, I wasn't working on a couple. I was working on Get in the Car. I've been working on Get in the Car Loser by Christine Love for a hot minute. I helped with a lot of character and enemy animations in the base game, and now I'm helping out with DLC stuff. And so
what ended up happening is that you got a different job on a different game that was being worked on by Tribute, right?
Yeah, because I was working on Get in the Car, and that was basically my full-time job at that point. When I was contacted by Tribute, I was just being upfront with them, and I was saying, like, I'm very busy right now. This is a huge opportunity, so, like, obviously I want to do it. Would there be any way that I could work with a friend of mine who I've worked with in the past, and that way I could split up the workload and make it a little easier? And there were complications with, that in and of itself being a harder sell compared to just being one person. And then in the time it took to talk that through and figure out if it were even okay, they got someone else, which that's how it is.
Yeah,
and,
I'd forgotten you were, like, already busy at that point.
Yeah, so they didn't leave me hanging, though. So they gave me work on another project that was a near completion that just needed some help along, and that was Steel Assault. So I got to work on a couple of it was mostly cutscene work. I was doing video editing for the cutscenes, and I was doing some character sprites for just some little extra flair. Like at the start of the game, when your character just drops from the sky and lands, all of the associated animations with that scene, so like the plane landing in the background, you landing, and doing a cool little flourish pose, that was me. I did all of the animations for one of the other in-game cutscenes with the professor, and I put together the intro, ending, and I don't remember if there were any other cutscenes because we were kind of going really hard in trimming that game down cutscene wise. But we got it all worked out, and I think no, it wasn't right around after that because that was like summertime when I was done with that, like September.
Okay, that sounds about right.
And then I was still working on Get in the Car through the end of the year, and then up till December, that brings us to Sonic 2. So
yeah, and everything that Mitt was saying before I jumped in, that was all about like a couple weeks. Also, I checked. It was like a little into January that happened, that she was approached, like the 7th or the 8th or something, and then it was near the end of January that I got a DM in the morning from her that just said, "Crepe, I'm going to call you right now." And she did. And she basically just laid out for me what was on the table, that she had this job and she had been asked by her boss if she knew anyone else that they could hire on to work on pixel animation alongside her. And I just snatched that up immediately. Like, the interview ended up happening a half hour later, and I showed them stuff that I'd worked on through my Tumblr blog, just like my last year in review, and they were all good with it. And that's how I ended up on the Sonic 2 credits.
Yeah, and they had went out of their way to find Presley on their own, and they had let me know that they had contacted Crepe, and they were talking to me about Presley. They brought me onto both of the interview calls, actually, just to talk about the onboarding, since, you know, the pixel art was all my stuff. I was basically the pixel art lead, I guess.
I think we learned from Vert at some point that it was IDW Sonic artist Mauro Fonseca who was their contact for Presley. Mm-hmm. He was the one who recommended Presley.
Oh yeah. On that note, Vert was my friend of the show, Vert Anderson, who this whole thing went down because in some channel of the IDW comics sphere, Tyson had asked, like, hey, does anyone know of anyone who's good at doing, you know, Sonic pixel art and animation? And then my name was thrown in, and then immediately they started contacting me.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's all connections.
Yeah, it is all connections. It's connections and a little bit of luck and taking advantage of social media, but mostly connections. Mm-hmm. We are all very lucky to have such very specific connections in this sphere that really fast track us. They fast track us to like the front of the line for Sonic related creative stuff. Like, I think if we really, really wanted to, we could probably put a word in and make something happen, but that's being very selfish of me to think that. But either way.
There is, like... Okay, saying this is probably, like, putting too much like, weight on our relationship to, like, greater Sonic media and the like. But in knowing Vert and, like, having him in our general friends space where we talk about a lot of stuff, including Sonic and ideas that we have, theories, stuff that we like, stuff that we want to see, on some level, because he is a part of a greater team that's working on a big piece of Sonic media right now, the IDW comics, it's not like he has sway and he can just introduce stuff or anything. He's not in a writing position, but he is part of a group. He is part of a team, and things that he says, things that he shares, can influence other people on that team. That's just what being on a team is.
Yeah.
So on some level, when we say stuff around him, it could get into his mind enough that he shares it to people he works with, like, intentionally or otherwise. And that's why sometimes, though it might just be him being, like, extra safe when it comes to reading Sonic fan theory type stuff and creative stuff, he'll sometimes say, like, okay, I'm not going to internalize that, or the like, you know?
Yeah.
Though, incidentally, at the time of recording, it was just announced that he got his first writing credit on the Sonic comics. He has a little story that's going to be in the annual that's going to come out this year, which is, like, really exciting. Good for him. So, like, our good friend, Aaron Hammerstrom, we've been calling him Vert this whole time because that's the online name we know him really well by, but our good friend Aaron Hammerstrom, he does have some influence in his particular department of Sonic media, which is it's very cool, but it is also power to be aware of.
Yeah, it is very interesting. when I got to see the work cut of the movie, it was kind of cool seeing all of the things that we were speculating about and talking about even elsewhere as like, it'd be really nice if the Sonic series went in this direction and used these changes to solve greater problems. And the movie just kind of went and did them. And I knew that before anyone else did, and I couldn't say.
I didn't get to see the work in progress cut of the film working on the credits either. That was Mitt's luxury.
Yeah, I was able to see it because I needed to for making the style frames. And no one else on the Pixel team got the opportunity, as far as I'm aware, just because it didn't really come up. They didn't really have to. And by that point in production, they didn't really want to share the work cut with any more people than they had to anyway, because I wouldn't say we were getting down to the wire. By the time we were done with the music video and the main on ends, it was like March. It's like early March. But yeah, we were getting close.
We ended up working on the music video for another week after the main on ends were like done.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to do much work for the main on ends the week before. So like to some degree, we ended up spending our last couple weeks focusing on the music video.
Yeah. We were just kind of slowly drip fed into the music video production, just following up on what was done from the main on ends. Because it was a lot of reused stuff. There were only very minor changes and very little things that needed to be added into the music video from the credits.
They really wanted a scene with water in it.
Yeah, it does.
It came up
sense.
multiple times that that's what they wanted.
Yeah, it's something that's very absent from the first credits, especially considering it is explicitly Labyrinth Zone, the zone with water in it. So we had brought up that you could just put the Labyrinth Zone scene underwater and it'd be correct. And they were cool with it. They were like, that's a really good idea. And I mean, sure.
Yeah, it just worked out.
Yeah. There were a lot of things that just kind of worked out. I have to admit, you don't really get self-conscious of having gratuitous amounts of useless Sonic information until you're put in a chair where those decisions matter. Because there were a lot of opportunities where I wanted to go ham and be like, oh, there was this thing in this Sonic game, and it'd be really easy to sneak it in. And it felt a little bit like, why? No one cares.
Oh, man. That reminds me of something. People have gotten very excited about the couple of references that I intentionally included, the character animation-based ones. I'll talk about those more later. But I want to drop in here. I don't think I've seen a single person remark on the Ice Mountain fence that I drew and specifically asked to be added to the ice cap scene in the credits. It's in the background behind Sonic as he's slowly gaining speed before the scene changes angle on him to go to his front.
Yeah.
And that was a very we need some details for the scene, and I thought, why not pull from other ice levels in a way that'll be really easy to put together. I just sized up that fence and redrew it, recolored it.
Yeah.
Gave it some extra detail.
There's a bunch of very little tiny things that we ended up sneaking in. Like, not to make it sound like, oh, we were shot down because no one cares. But it's like, it's kind of up to us because it doesn't matter whether it's there or not. We don't have to announce that we're doing it. We just do it because it'll be fine. And we were allowed to take from stuff from, I think, the first 3 games and maybe CD. We were allowed to just take whatever we wanted from that.
I don't know if CD ever came up. It's totally possible that was on the same level, but it sure didn't come up.
Yeah, it didn't really come up. So we were allowed to just kind of go ham.
One thing that was also kind of funny was with the truck at the first scene where Sonic's running down the street after he comes down the skyscraper. We had this whole conversation about how we wanted it to look when it was destroyed, how we wanted that effect to happen, and multiple of us were proposing making it look like the way a lot of Eggman's machines crumple in the first 3 Sonic games, and it didn't solidify until I went out of my way to record a little bit of footage of Emerald Hill Zone with the drill tank. getting the last hit in on it, and having the wheels come off and it just falling. And at that point, everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, we should do that. Yeah, yeah." It's like that's how important the visual reference was for people who didn't have the same level of like internalized imagery that we do as people who've played these games too much.
Yeah. It was very interesting when things came up anyway that were references and were just like immediately understood.
Mm-hmm.
The shot of Robotnik powering up is just a straight allusion to Altered Beast, down to the background being as close to the original as I think we wanted. Like, we could have made it just like straight up that, but we VFX'd it up. But you could still tell it's got the zigzags.
Yeah, it's like as close as you could do, like retaining any semblance of the reference while like giving it a lot more appropriate feel for the exact thing that's happening.
Yeah, there was that. There was supposed to be a little bit of it's not Outrun, which is the plane, the jet.
Oh, Afterburner.
Yeah, there was supposed to be some Afterburner in the shot with the tornado, but it didn't really come through by virtue of it being actually 3D compared to Afterburner being not.
Mm-hmm. Being the faux 2D with the scaled background.
Yeah, and then in the music video, I just directly mentioned, like, we should make the fist bump between Sonic, Tails, and Kid Cudi be exactly like the handshake between Ryu and Cyclops. And everyone in that work call was like, "Oh my god, that's such a good idea.
Yeah.
We should totally do that." And that's why as soon as they do, the screen like flashes in the background and there's a huge spark when they do it.
It was such a good suggestion.
Yeah.
It was so funny how like everyone got it too. Like so many people in that call like knew what was up with the X-Men versus Street Fighter callback.
Yeah. Everyone immediately got it.
It's funny. It's not to like dissect it a bunch, but it's just funny how like people of different backgrounds can sometimes have these overlapping memories of specific games. Even ones that are like, they were big popular for a time, but they're not really talked about these days outside of their niche, you know? Like X-Men versus Street Fighter doesn't come up unless you're talking about all of the versus Capcom games, all of the Marvel games that Capcom made.
Yeah, for sure. I guess that talking about the truck reminded me, early on in the style frames, the truck. Okay, well, we were talking about having Robotnik visible somehow. Like he had some sort of hand in every scene. Whether that be he is literally there or there is one of his contraptions or robots there. And early on, I had the Eggman logo on the side of the truck. I think we ended up not having anything on the side of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a rough pixel version of his game logo, which is actually pretty much the same as the one in the movie. They just adapted that wholesale. I had that on the side of the truck. It was supposed to be like, this is explicitly a Robotnik truck. We're recontextualizing the truck as being a boss, and that's why it is the way it is. And I don't remember if we were asked from higher up or if we just decided, let's just get rid of the Eggman logo from that.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But that we ended up getting rid of it.
I was there for that call too when it happened. I can't remember if it was Will's idea or if it was Will passing something along.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I think that was the only thing that needed to be expressly changed like that. I think everything else is pretty smooth sailing, all things considered.
Yeah, kind of unsurprisingly, we got a lot more feedback when it came to design stuff for the music video compared to the credits, where it seemed like Jeff Fowler and maybe also Tyson Hess, but we heard more back from Jeff that like they were just interested in letting us make it look like the games, and we were doing a really good job of that.
Yeah, I think all the conversations between our boss and the upper movie guys were Jeff Fowler and Tyson Hess, because I think Tyson was there as pretty much the Sonic consultant, you know?
Mm-hmm. I feel like tossing this in really quick. 1 second, I'm going to pull up Sonic Retro because this exchange happened in the the Sonic the Hedgehog cinematic universe thread. Because go figure, Tyson Hess is a semi-active user on Sonic Retro still. He used to be a lot more active, not as much now. I'm gonna go to his account, pull up his most recent posts. There we go. Someone asked him, how cool is it seeing your name prominently featured in the credits of a movie? Because he does get top billing in the main on ends, along with other really important staff for the movie. And I won't read out his full thing, but verbatim, it was actually a surprise from Jeff and the producers that they sprung on me in the final weeks of the movie. I was originally only hired to be storyboard supervisor and to do my usual character design work, but as the project went on, I would take more and more tasks helping with so many areas of the movie that I ended up being one of the last out. I don't think I could even divulge how many things I got involved in, but it was a lot. Even so, I was fine with my original credit, but I think it illustrates why I like working with this movie team so much. And he goes on to mention that it's just, it felt like the team was fighting on his behalf to give him that top credit, which is really uncommon in the industry. So he clearly has like a lot of respect and reverence for the people he was working with on Sonic 1 and 2.
Yeah, and it's really clear how everyone on the team values Tyson's input on everything.
Yeah. His hand is really felt, I think.
Yeah.
He mentioned just after the music video came out that he was a little disappointed the scene from the dance in Siberia, right? Is where they go to
Siberia.
in the movie. Yeah. Where Sonic gets thrown up and he does the Sonic 1, or he does the Sonic Adventure 1 box art pose. The good old Uekawa art. He was disappointed that scene was shown off in the music video because he thought it would land really well with moviegoers. As like, whoa, didn't see that coming. So turns out that was his idea also, which maybe not super surprising.
Yeah, I guess on that note, we should probably divulge some of our own references, which is not very many. But as many people have pointed out, the sprite for Supersonic when he's flying around the Death Egg robot in the credits sequence that you did, that's a direct allusion to the unused chaotic sprites.
Yeah, that was like, I was really champing at the bit to work on that bit. No pun intended. Just because I really want to get that pose in there. It just felt like the sort of thing that a lot of people would go nuts for. And it turns out I was right. A lot of people really went nuts for it, to the point that noted Sonic fandom member Cybershell, known for his forever ago something awful Let's Plays of Sonic 1, 2, and 3 in CD, I believe, pointed it out in his video where he talked about the Sonic 2 movie. He was like, was that a sneaky reference to the Chaotix unused sprite for Supersonic? And I'm like, you're right. That's exactly what it was. And because he pointed that out, when I posted my animations later on Twitter, after we got the go-ahead, and after I was home from flying out to see this with friends, people in my mentions were adding Cybershell over this sprite to point out that, yeah, it was intentional.
Yeah. It was very interesting seeing that immediate acknowledgement of that, because it's so tiny, literally and figuratively. It's such a small detail. There's a couple of other things. Obviously, the Supersonic when he's flying towards the screen is from I think that's the Sonic 3 one.
I think it might be Sonic 2.
Yeah, I just can't remember which one of him flying towards the screen it is, but it is directly referenced from one of them.
Oh, it's 2. It's 2. I remember what his 3 pose is. It's a lot more boring.
Right. Okay, yeah, I remember now. Yeah, it's directly based off of the 2 one, and that's the one I did. We did, or I was asked to make relatively high res, like higher than everything else we had done, Pixel Sonic for the music video album cover. Or rather, I guess it's the single cover. And that ended up not being used, and the pose that Sonic is in is taken from one of the Sonic Harmony illustrations, or Sega Harmony illustrations. I can't remember offhand which one it is, but it is one. I think it might be the one where he's passing a race baton.
You'll probably
No, it's
have it
not
by the
that
time
one.
you get. You'll probably have it by the time you get all the images in for the video version of this, right?
Yeah, there'll definitely be the right one in the YouTube video. But there's that. I had even asked our boss, because I made an edit of it that made it less of a reference. Like, I tweaked one of Sonic's arms so it was a little more natural of a pose, because it looks kind of weird. And he said, I like the original one. I just like it better. I said, okay. I'm not going to fight back on that. What else?
And then it went unused, but...
Yeah, then it went unused. The Sonic snowboarding sprite is very, very, very loosely based off of the Sonic skateboarding render from Mario and Sonic.
Oh, right.
It kind of got transmutated a lot as I edited the pose more. But that was the original reference. I just completely changed it, so it's not really that anymore.
And the skateboarding and snowboarding sprites at the smaller resolution are, of course, based directly on Sonic 3's snowboarding sprites.
Yeah. Those were just directly taken reference-wise. A couple other little things, little tiny things. Tails has his helmet from the OVA, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get Tails in the tornado in a 2D medium without giving him the helmet these days.
They did that in Mania too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Knuckles' pose on the tornado is based off of the one for Mania.
I believe so, yeah, now that you mention it.
And then Sonic's is obviously taken from Sonic CD.
Mm-hmm, which they also used in Mania.
Yeah. There's a couple other little details that they're not really seen in the final movie for one reason or another. One reason or another. One of the big ones is in that scene where the Death Egg robot is in the background stomping on the ground. I had made all the little buildings and the roads, and the baseball diamond, which you can't really see, but there is like a big baseball diamond park, and that's in the shape of a Chaos Emerald, and it's got the cuts.
Mm-hmm.
There's all of the little buildings are directly based off of buildings from the town that are seen in the movie. They're just repeated a lot.
Mate, you learned a revolutionary technique in A-Sprite working on the lake in that image, didn't you?
Yeah. That was the first time that I had used the pattern fill, which made filling out the lake much easier. But yeah, for the little buildings, there's the coffee shop. I know there's Sonic's house. There's a bunch of other just assorted background buildings that are directly lifted. There's the town hall, stuff like that. In that first shot where Sonic is chasing the truck, Presley made a whole bunch of the background elements, and I believe all of the silhouetted people are references primarily to Sonic Adventure. I know the burger shop guy is there.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a handful of people notice that. What else? Other people have noticed that we're at the Master Emerald altar. That's from Sonic 2 Hidden Palace. People have noticed that.
Right. Also, earlier in that scene, a lot of people thought that scene in general was an SRP2 reference, which is it's cute. I'm glad that SRP2 has that level of
–
cultural impact, at least within the fandom.
It was not intentional.
It's a Sonic 2 special stage reference.
Yeah, it is very funny that people thought of that. We'll let them have it. People can if they want it to be an SRP2 reference, it is. It wasn't, but it could be if you want it to be.
It could be if you wanted it to. And the sprites for Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles were also done by Presley, and those were very expressly based on the Sonic 2 special stage sprites.
Yeah.
I think, like, if we don't have any other really small ones, I was saving the big one that I did for like end of this conversation.
Okay.
One of the last things that I did for the Made on Ends was that entire attack string that Robotnik does when Sonic runs up to him in front of his house. it's 1-for-1 based on Axel Stone's attack string from Streets of Rage 2. The jab jab straight kick that Axel does in that game. There's a funny little story behind like how that animation came to be. Originally, Eggman was just standing there. I love that I use Eggman and Robotnik interchangeably, even in this context. He was just standing there in that scene, and at some point, we gotten feedback directly from Jim Carrey, which was like, do a little bit of proportions tweaking on me on the Altered Beast shot, make my face a little different. But then also asked a couple of animations be added. That's when the little dance that he does in the Mushroom Planet scene was made. And what he wanted, according to what Will said, was kind of like a Double Dragon-ish animation of him just punching and kicking while Sonic runs up. And I was about to like hop on doing that, and then it was Mitt who suggested basing it on Streets of Rage, so we get a Streets of Rage reference in there. Like, obviously, that's a game series that both of us care about a lot, and it's a Sega game, so it's super appropriate. And the funniest thing of all was that attack animation lined up more with the reference material that Jim gave us anyway. He'd had someone hold a camera while he was in his house, just doing his little shimmy dance and doing the punches and kicks that he wanted, and it was way more Streets of Rage Axel than it was Double Dragon Jimmy Lee. Which is really funny to me. It just worked out. So I was really happy to have been able to include that in there. And everyone really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have recognized the reference too. It's probably one of the things I've seen people point out the most since I posted my animations online.
I think that about covers everything, honestly. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we didn't get to. I guess if there's one loose end, I have felt weird the fact that this hasn't come up at all. But we had an additional person on the team who helped work out the Death Egg robot.
Oh yeah,
pixel wise, and that was Mariel Cartwright.
Yeah.
And she had helped make the pixel turnaround for that, and then I had made the Kid Cudi turnaround based on that. And we had the team at Picture Mill put together the 3D models for both.
Yeah. It was all projection mapping onto those models using the pixel textures that the two of you made.
Yeah.
Apologies for not bringing up Mariel like at the top of this. That was that wasn't the only thing she did, right? I think she did like something else small, maybe scenery related, but that was the big thing that she was brought on to help with.
Yeah. It was primarily for the Death Egg robot.
It was a huge deal. That was like a week-long endeavor, her working on that and shading it.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressive.
That is why there have been a couple of people asking me, can you post the Death Egg robot? First of all, it's not a sprite. Second of all, I didn't make it. But now you know.
Yeah, now you know. Kind of on the subject of the Kid Cudi mech, to Kid Cudi. I had this in my notes. I wanted to put on the record that none of us had any direct contact with Kid Cudi. Like, I'm sure it's not like super surprising, especially for anyone who has actually worked in any type of industry job in this vein, like anything close to it. Like, of course, we're going to have a middleman, and our middleman was our boss, Will. And we got feedback from Kid Cudi at times, but we like nothing that we said ever like got to him, and like we certainly didn't have any direct conversation at any point. We were working with him in the sense that we were working with his likeness and getting his word back to us sometimes.
Yeah. We were told he got a kick out of it. We were told specifically, we had told him that we were turning him into a robot, but he wasn't sure we were making him into a robot.
A mech.
Yeah, like a action figure, Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we were doing. So he was on board. He loved doing it. From what we had heard, he was a lot of fun to work with.
Yeah, Picture Mill posted like a pretty short like behind the scenes of shooting the music video, doing all the live action stuff, and it seemed like he was having a pretty good time.
Yeah, he was getting into it.
I actually did the design work for the base Kid Cudi sprite. I didn't do any animations for him. Those were all Presley, except for at the very end where he's wearing Robotnik's jacket, which was Mitt. But I did the base design for it with some help from Mitt, because like I was using her Robotnik as direct stylistic reference. I don't do caricature work much. Based a lot of it on that, like the exaggerated facial shapes. And one of the last things that I did in terms of work on the Kid Cudi sprite was making his face a little taller and slimming it down to make it feel more like an actual approximation of his actual face. Yeah. Which was funny. He was a lot more. It was a little like more cartoony beforehand. It was really fun to put together, especially like I drew the shape for his pants, just kind of freewheeled it and shaded it, and it was just good. Like, baggy pants are really fun and easy to do.
Yeah. On the contrary, when I was making Robotnik, it was a humongous pain, especially getting him, because I had to do Kid Cudi in the Robotnik coat and all of the animations therein, and that's where all of the turnarounds came in, because like the Sonic movie 1 coat is pretty straightforward. It's kind of just a bodysuit. But for Sonic 2, it's a lot more complex. So getting that to look right from other angles was definitely a challenge. But we got it done.
Yeah, it was also interesting just kind of slapping it over Kid Cudi. Did you actually like have to do much adjusting in the shape of the coat?
I don't remember. I might have. But I think it looking big on him was part of the point.
Yeah. And that animation of Sonic tossing the ring and then plucking his own quill to give to Kid Cudi was the last thing that I worked on for the music video. I think also last thing you worked on, right? Because we tag teamed it, but it was also like, I don't think you had anything else on your plate at that point.
I don't remember if the Kid Cudi animations came before or after that.
They were before. You had those done before I'd finished the refs for the Sonic animation.
I don't know, because I think I had to make some.
You had to do a jump frame.
Yeah, I had to do some extra stuff at the end.
That was pretty much it, though. It's just the one jump frame, I think.
Yeah,
because we originally had him jumping, just like Robotnik does, inspired by Robotnik's jump animation in Sonic 2 and 3, and. They want something a little different. We still end up using that frame, I think. Like, they used it, it's just that they wanted another frame going into it.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I think he, like, hops over to the left-hand side of the screen instead of just being there like he's about to walk away. I don't remember, but I think there was that one point where that was the case.
He does hop over.
Yeah, and now he hops over and then he hops through. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to give here.
I just remembered that through coincidence, the continuity of his hands are correct, because like I wasn't really thinking about it, and I think that was the lesson that I learned, that I need to be thinking about this, because his hand, the one that's carrying the quill, the one that takes the quill even, is the same one as when he hops through, and I don't remember, but I think I think we had the footage already by the time that I was doing the quill handoff pixel art. So I had just made that, and it just so happened to be the right hand, and it was very lucky of me. But word to the wise, I guess. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's kind of just everything. At that point, we were all wrapped up. It was super fun working on everything.
Oh, I guess I have like one small thing.
Yeah.
I just remembered this job was my first time doing like any sort of pixel texture work, which is funny. I was specifically asked to do the road texture for the street when Sonic's running down and he's chasing the truck.
Mm-hmm.
I based a lot of that on like the shading style of Streets of Rage 2. So another Streets of Rage shout out.
There you go.
And then I did the pixel version of the Sonic Adventure Ice Cap ramp, which was really straightforward. I just took the texture and recolored it.
There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, I think that's kind of, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
But it was fun to work with everyone. It was fun meeting everyone. Everyone was super nice.
Yeah. Shouts to John Bellis.
True. Shoutouts to John Bellis. We were working closely with John Bellis as like our, I guess our primary contact. That's not necessarily true. John Bellis had worked closest with us.
Well, he was like the comp guy on so many scenes we worked on.
We had worked with John Bellis on a lot of the pixel stuff, and he was picking up on a lot of what we were putting down. He was talking with us a lot about old Sega game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the time we would just connect off of that, and he would get a lot of the things we would try and put in. Like as soon as I explained to him that the Robotnik power-up shot is just Altered Beast, he was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know what to do.
That's awesome. I didn't even know you had that exchange. I ended up talking with him a lot about chiptune stuff. It just happened as we were working on that road scene. I was sending him work in progress textures and then the finished stuff, and then high res versions of that finished stuff because they wanted it to be a little less pixely. And we just started talking about chiptune music that we really liked, and he shared some stuff with me. I shared some stuff with him. It's kind of out of nowhere connections that were really cool.
Yeah. Shout outs to the whole team. Shout outs to Ilga. Shout outs to John Bellis. Shout outs to John Block. Shout outs to Megan. Everyone was very nice and fun to work with. And we did it. It came out super cool. And I think everyone's very proud of what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to whatever happens with the third movie.
Yeah.
If you want other things to look forward to, consider backing us on Patreon.
God.
Where we are slowly but surely figuring out things to make exclusive, fun little things for people to give us a little extra money for. That will hopefully be interesting and enticing.
Yeah.
You can do that at patreon.com/LTASonic.
And if you want to follow us on Twitter, where I guess we'll let you guys know if we get brought onto Sonic 3. That's twitter.com/LTASonic. If you want to follow us individually on Twitter, my Twitter handle is just Mitsumi_MITSAME.
And you can find me on Twitter at CrappyBlue. Same as ever.
True. If you want to see all of our episodes just in a very nice, easy to read list, you can find that. You can find our Let's Plays. You can find all of the other platforms you can listen to us or watch us on at ltasonic.card.co. That's ltasonic.card.co.
And you wanna hang out with us, right? You wanna join our Discord server where we post a lot of fan art that we like. We talk about Sonic stuff as it comes out, just in text. We chill around. It's good fun. You can find the link to our Discord both on that card and in our Twitter pinned tweet.
Yes. I think that's everything.
Yeah, just about.
Well, I have a ring here. It's a warp ring, actually, and I'm gonna throw it. I'm visualizing the next zone. Okay, I'm throwing it. I'm seeing you guys in the next zone. Goodbye!